Let me say something that quietly changes how you sell forever. I know this is a big promise, but I mean it. High-level buyers aren't listening to what you're saying. Well, they're listening to how you decide while you're talking. Let me explain. They're clocking your pacing, they're clocking your own certainty, and they're clocking whether you're leading the conversation or narrating your own insecurity in real time, waiting for them to read you. But here's the part that people don't realize until it costs them money. The decision about you happens before you finish your first explanation of what you do. That's not being arrogant, that's just experience. People who've bought a lot, hired a lot, and led a lot, they've developed a sixth sense. You have intelligent buyers. They know that how someone handles the small moments will predict how they will handle the big ones. So today we're going to recode and decode what high-level buyers actually listen for, because once you hear this, trust me, your pricing, your closing, and the rooms you're invited to will start to shift almost immediately. So let's start with the biggest tell. High-level buyers listen for decision ownership, not the decision itself, the ownership of it. They're listening for whether you speak like someone who already decided. Someone still checking the room when they talk is not what they're looking for. You hear it when someone says a price and then keeps going and keeps talking. I've been guilty of that. You hear it when someone adds lots of qualifiers. You hear it when someone explains the logic like they're hoping you'll agree with them instead of assuming that you will. Experienced buyers don't need to be convinced of your value. They need to know who is in charge. That's you, by the way. Because here is the unsexy version of this. When someone buys at that level, they're buying your leadership, which means your leadership has to be there before they get there. They're buying your judgment. They're buying your discernment. They're buying the way you hold decisions under pressure. So when you over-explain, what they hear is, this person still needs me to agree, so if they're not sure, then I'm not sure. And agreement seeking is very expensive. The second thing high-level buyers listen for is your pace. Not your speed, says the speedy talker, your pace. Pace often tells them whether you trust the room. Fast talking, frenetic, and nervous, not natural, can often read as anxiety, even when the content is good. Over details reads as uncertainty, even when the strategy is solid. Watch someone who's used to rooms with authority. They pause. They let the silence land. They don't rush to rescue a conversation because silence isn't awkward at that level. It's informative and it's necessary and it's respectful. High-level buyers assume intelligence on the other side of the table. So when you slow down, you signal, I expect you to keep up. That alone changes the dynamic. The third thing they listen for is how you handle edges. Edges are what I like to call the moments of slight discomfort. Maybe a question you didn't ask, a pushback, a raised eyebrow, their doubt. This is where the entire sale can get decided. People who haven't spent time with high-level buyers try to smooth those moments out. They reassure, they soften, they change their package. They'll add something that they don't usually do. They over-accommodate. High-level buyers lean into edges. They're watching to see whether you collapse, defend, or hold steady, because leadership shows up under the pressure, not in the pitch. When someone responds to an edge calmly, without posturing or shrinking or changing the plan, their trust in you rises immediately. Not because they handled an objection, but because you look like you know what you're talking about and you can handle yourself. The fourth thing that buyers listen for is how you talk about your own work. This one is subtle and deadly. When someone talks about their work like it needs to be justified, buyers will hear that fragility. When someone talks about their work like it's familiar territory, the buyer will see authority. Authority may sound boring, by the way, and I understand that, because it sounds calm and very grounded. It sounds like this is how it works. Drama and over-the-top horse and pony show sells to beginners. Clarity sells to the adults in the room. So the high-level buyers want to know one thing. Can this person, you, hold me when things get complex? They're listening for whether your nervous system stays aligned and regulated to what you teach when the stakes are high. They're not wanting to know what you know, they want to know what you do. Does your voice tighten when money enters the room? They want to know whether you lead the conversation or you let it drift wherever they take it. So here's where most smart people lose their leverage. They think that the sale and the connection happen at the moment of asking. It doesn't. A sale happens in the way you inhabit a conversation. By the time numbers are discussed, the decision is already forming. I can't tell you how many people will get on a sales call with me, have already sold themselves in because they watched my content. So what actually changes these outcomes? When you speak like someone who's already chosen their position, you pause without filling space. You let edges exist without rushing to erase them. You talk about your work in your promotional marketing stuff and one-to-one, like someone who's done it enough times to relax. And that combination is magnetic. Here's the maverick part though. You can't train in this by memorizing scripts. You train in it by noticing where you start managing someone else's perception instead of holding the direction. Every time you feel the impulse to explain more, I want you to pause. Every time you feel the urge to soften a statement or make a joke so they're not to read the room, check it. Every time you rush to be understood, slow down. Those micro moments are where your authority lives. It's not about being intimidating. It's about being anchored in your work. People aren't only impressed by brilliance, they're reassured by steadiness. So steadiness and brilliance together, money follows that around. So the real upgrade here is not how you pitch. It's how you decide to speak about what it is you do. And that's what buyers hear. It's what they buy and how they choose you. So once you start listening to it for yourself, your entire business will start responding differently. Try it out this week and let me know how it goes. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and I'll meet you here next week.